there, honey. I meant to do this on the balcony like I always do, but I ran out of time. It was early, there was a lot to take care of. But here we are at the Bay of Islands, and we've got a lot to do here, and not a lot of time to do it in. So I'm gonna try and collect as much as I can, but I can't promise much. So I don't know what we just hit, honey, but the boat was really rocking here for a moment. You would have really loved it. Sorry you can't be here. Finally getting a little bit of the feel of the ocean, but you have to be in one of these little dinky tenders in order to do it. A ship like the Serenade of the Seas is just a no-go. It's just too darn big. At the same time, honey, I think you would have felt quite familiar with the look of things as we pulled into Waitangi Harbor. Sure, every such place is a little bit different, but there's the basic feel of it that looks so similar to that of Catawba Bay or Middle Bass that I think you would have felt at home here. The name of the forest here is from a Maori word meaning the swirling white mist, and I suppose if you came here right in the earliest morning, you'd see that for yourself. It's really impressive to look up at the canopy. I know the angle of this is very strange, so it's hard to tell, but you can see just the edge of the forest here as we stand in the clearing that serves as our parking lot. As usual, I'm having a little trouble keeping up with everybody because there's always something to take a picture of or to film, and I've finally got myself a little bit of peace here where I've got a stand, as it were, of Kauri right behind me. And you can see I'm trying to tilt the angle a little bit, but it just keeps going up and up and up. These things are really very tall. They're also very old. The oldest ones grow to be about 2,000 years old. These are, as our guide said, mere teenagers, although what that is in tree years is probably a good 100 or so. But they are still young, still growing, and still very vulnerable as well. We are required to stay on this track here in order to avoid causing them any damage, because even touching them can affect them in certain ways. Behind me is one of the oldest kauri trees in this particular forest, about 1,500 years old. And as you can see, or you might not be able to, there's a bad scar on this side of it. It's from a lightning strike from years ago. And again, I'm not even going to try and look too far up because it just keeps going up there. It is still producing leaves, so we know it's still alive. How long that'll be is anyone's guess. They grow very slowly and damage very easily in the wild, partly because they just simply grew up not exposed to the other dangers that so much of the rest of the world was common to. Of course, that's why the rest of the world doesn't have these trees. So take that for what you will. The problem is that the indigenous New Zealand ecosystem didn't have predators to speak of. There were no mammals, nothing that was actually trying to root around for food and whatnot. And as a result, once the Maori came with their animals, and then the English with theirs, it began to literally eat away at the wildlife. Of course, there's nothing like man as far as when it comes to destroying fauna and flora. It so happens that the kauri trees are exceptionally useful. They're a strong hardwood. They don't have knots because they keep dropping their lowest branches. They make excellent furniture, wood for building houses, and by the beginning of the 20th century, they were down to less than 3% of their original growth. Again, the kauri are now a protected species, but it's still a challenge to keep them growing as they grow very slowly and they damage very easily in the wild. Now, since we won't be stopping at too many places along the way on this trip, I figure I might as well leave you at the foot of one of these kauri trees, or a little bit of you, And if you become food for it, wonderful, you're part of the forest. There you go. Welcome again, and may you find beauty in the places you rest.